Suminagashi, which translates to ink floating, is a Japanese art form of paper marbling. Right now I am mixing soap and water and pouring that into a container. It is believed to have originated in the 12th century. The oldest known Suminagashi sample is from the 12th century, but references to the technique date back to 825 through 880 CE in the poetry of Haru. So to create Suminagashi art, artist would float circles of black and indigo blue ink on the surface of the still water. Now the ink I'm using here is calligraphy ink, and I will make sure to put the link down below in the description box. And they would add water to a basin and then do the ink floating on top of the water and gently blow to create smoke-like patterns. Next, they would place a sheet of white rice paper on top of the water to pick up the ink. The results was delicate swirls of pattern that resembled natural rock and were often used to decorate homes or in bookbinding. So I'm just adding the ink over to a little container. In my next step, I will take and add about an inch or so of water to my basin. The origins of Suminagashi are disputed, with some claiming it may have come from an early form of ink divination or from a popular entertainment practice. Legend credits Zimon Hiraba as the inventor of Suminagashi. Now I will be taking some newspaper and go ahead and glide it across the water just to make sure to get any debris or any kind of dust and stuff off the top that may affect the end result. So what I have here is 2 paintbrushes from a 12-piece Chinese calligraphy brush set that I will put in the link below, so you guys, the description box below, so you guys can come check it out. And this is just a great Japanese sumi painting kit, and these are nice big brushes that will work really nice with fine tips, as you can see there, to help dip into the water. So they come starched, so you have to soak them for at least 10 minutes or so to get the starch off the tips of the bristles, and then I'm just squeezing out the water and just getting them ready. So what I'm gonna do is grab one in one hand of the paintbrushes, and then I'm gonna take the other one and have it in my other hand, and I'm gonna dip one into the calligraphy ink and then barely touch it onto the surface of the water, and you can see it just goes right across. And then the other one is soapy water. So you just go back and forth and make rings in the water, and you're just touching the tips just right on the top of the surface. And as you can see here, just any movement or any kind of air in the blowing around can make the water move, and it gives cool patterns. So what I'm using here is just some deli paper, and I'm going to rip it to size to be able to just dip it right on top of the water. And this is just like a craft deli paper, and I'll make sure the link is down below. And you just dip it right on top, let it sit, and just kind of give it a little press down, get all the air bubbles out of it. And you only let it sit for less than a minute. You just let it just sit on top of the water, absorb into the paper. Then I just gently grab it from the edge and go ahead and pull it up. And we can look at the end result here. So you can see it just soaked right into the deli paper. And I will set it over to the side, and we'll look at it at the very end when it's all dry. So now I have a skewer that I will dip into the water and make patterns with it, and a little toothpick, some toothpicks. So these are great things to have after you add your ink to the top of the water, and you can do some designs and stuff at the top, and I'll show you guys after we add the ink. As you can see here, just one stroke of the skewer can just totally change everything of the results. And it's so fun. You can just see that it just starts moving on its own and just takes over its own little patterns. So what I'm showing you guys here is to make sure don't dip the glossy side of the baking tissue paper. To go ahead and do the dull side of it, and it'll absorb better. So I just take some paper towels and just lay them on top and then lightly press, just to get off any of the excess water and any of the ink that doesn't want to stay on there. Just kind of blot them just to take off the excess. The philosophy of Suminagashi is a practice that incorporates Japanese philosophy that emphasizes the value of imperfection, nature, and abstraction. It looks at the world metaphorically to emphasize the beauty in the presence and the moment. Artists paint with ink on the water's surface, and it is super relaxing, very meditative, and it just kind of takes you into your own world. If you go too low with your paintbrush under the surface of the water, you'll get the ink blots at the bottom of the basin that you're using, which is fine. It won't show up on your print when you pull your print. Now I'm using watercolor paper, and this is the kind that I used. I just got it like at Walmart. And then I just face it down and let it sit. And pull it and make a print. So I went ahead and just changed my water and got it all clean. Because when you have it just after a while of using it, it'll just be kind of murky. And when you go to pull a print, it'll just be more gray and just kind of murkier. I'm going to pull this print with some mixed media paper, and I think this turns out really cool. It does a good job of absorbing it, and I just really like the look of it. So what does Suminagashi tattoo mean? In tattoo form, Suminagashi can represent a variety of meanings. Firstly, it can symbolize fluidity and adaptability as the ink flows and changes form on the water's surface. Secondly, it can represent harmony and balance, as the patterns created in Suminagashi are often beautifully symmetrical. Now I'm going to pull a print on some cotton white fabric. So that's the next ones I will be putting in, is just cotton white fabrics, and we'll see how those turn out. So after a couple of uses, maybe 5 or 6 times of pulling fabrics and papers and stuff, I went ahead and cleaned my brushes off really good. And now I'm changing the soapy water out because it was starting to get a lot of ink in it. So I'm adding fresh soapy water, fresh water, tap water to the basin. And I cleaned both of the brushes off real good. So we're gonna start fresh. Now I'm adding my tie-dyed cotton fabrics that I've dyed with RIT dye. So I got them all tie-dyed, and then I'm dipping them into the water and pulling them. So I think these turn out really cool. You guys the end results here. So we'll start with our tie-dyed fabrics. Let's see here. See that it did pick up some of the ink. So I'm thinking if I did it darker for the fabrics, it would just soak up better and then just come out a little darker. I think it turned out really cool though. Just got a fun, subtle, just marks on it. You just kind of see it throughout. So that's definitely going to be fun to do in some projects. This one, the back, front. This one I think turned out really fun. You can really see little swirls in it. And with the tie-dye in the background, I just think that turned out really fun. Some are lighter than the others. Kind of see a little bit in this one. Okay, so there's our tie-dyed fabrics. And here is the white fabric. You can see the swirl. It just looks like smoke. I hope that's showing up pretty good. I'll make sure to pan down so you guys can see really, really good. I mean, how cool is that? It's just darker and then smoke. It looks just like, it reminds me of smoke. It's kind of cool. I think these just turned out really neat. There's a darker right here. And it's just kind of in the background. Okay. Those. And then I want to show you guys our papers. or watercolor paper, which I think turned out really, really neat. Like it really absorbed it nicely. Okay. Now this is probably my favorite. I mean, just look at that. That is so cool. Just all the dark lines on it, and then all the back just faded. So that is definitely my favorite. So this is on watercolor paper. That's the small, just mixed media paper there. And then this one is the bigger piece of paper, mixed media watercolor. And that still turned out really cool. I mean, a little more smoky around the edges, just kind of ran a little bit, but I think that gives it just some fun character. And there's the back of it. Okay. And with the mixed media, this one, I'll make sure to put the description. It'll be down in the description for you guys. This one I just got like at Walmart or somewhere like that. I'll grab it for you to show you what kind it is. Okay, so I'll make sure there's not a glare. There we go. So it is the 30 sheets of 9x12, and it's 40 pound 300 GSM. So that's the watercolor paper that I used here. Okay, and I think it turned out pretty cool. There's that one. And this is the tissue paper, deli paper. I'll make sure to put in the links below. It's like a whole, I showed you guys at the beginning, but this stuff is really cool. And I think it absorbed it nice. This will be just great for collages and fun mixed media projects. There's that one, and then this one. So it definitely has a neat look to it. If we go like this, there, might be able to see it a little bit better. But I think it's turned out pretty cool. These will be fun to use with some mixed media projects. Okay. And then this is the brown craft deli paper, and this will be in the description below, but it kind of ran. Like, it didn't do as good as this, where you could see that it's uniformed. Like, it didn't, like, just smear together, where this one kind of just smeared together. So, still, it would be fun to use in a mixed media project. So I will definitely not throw it out. We got all those. So these is what we did. And I think they turned out really fun. So let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. I would really love to know. And if you could please subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell and you guys can see my next video when I post it. Like, comment, and share. And let's grow together. And keep on crafting.